Welcome to Get Sleepy, the podcast where we listen, we relax, and we get sleepy. I'm Thomas, your host. Thank you so much for tuning in. In tonight's story, our seasonal theme keeps rolling as we take a relaxing and unique train ride through an enchanting winter landscape. We'll travel through the night, enjoying the scenery until you drift off to sleep. Now then, let's begin our serene journey into a good night's sleep by getting comfortable in bed and enjoying a few deep, nourishing breaths. If you sense any lingering tension left over from the day, then as you breathe in, squeeze your shoulders up to your neck, tensing and holding the muscles for a moment. Then breathe out slowly and release your shoulders back down. On your next inhale, imagine all of your stress or concerns collecting in the shoulders. And as you exhale, feel all of the tension rolling down through your body, right to the tips of your toes and out into the external world. Repeat this a few more times, for as long as it takes to free yourself of any burdening tension or stress. With each breath out, your body relaxes and softens, and your mind gently lets go of anything disruptive. Now, allow your imagination to wander freely as you follow my voice and make your way into sleep. You can let it drift away from your room, away from your worries and problems, over the sleeping world below, to the top of a snowy hill on a chilly, star-filled winter night. This is where our story begins. The cold air nips at your nose as you stand on the snow-covered hill overlooking the town. Down below, the windows of the tiny, distant houses emanate a warm, golden light. Some of the homes have strands of small, multicolored bulbs hanging from their roofs. Even from here, you can see them twinkling cheerfully. The snow is bathed in a silver blue light. It seems the whole world is aglow in the pearly luminescence of the full moon, and the cold air makes the faraway town look glassy and dreamlike. For a moment, you wonder what it would be like if you were a bird, able to spread your wings and fly high above the neighborhoods, circling lower and lower until you landed in front of a cozy home. Through the windows, you'd see a family inside, sitting down to dinner with smiles on their faces. Or maybe you'd find someone reading a book in a comfy armchair beside a crackling fire. But then, a whispering breeze returns your awareness to the present moment. As the night grows darker, the air gets colder. The hill you're on is exposed to the elements. You think it might be warmer down amongst the trees on the trail that brought you here. With a last look out over the sleepy town, you turn and trudge through the snow. You follow your own string of footprints back the way you came. It's been long enough that the prints have formed an icy crust. Your boots crunch through them, leaving the shape of their soles atop your older tracks. The air around you smells cold and invigorating. The temperature mutes the other scents that might be carried on the breeze, leaving only a hint of pine and the damp freshness of the snow. You fall into an easy rhythm of walking, where you're not really aware of how much time has passed. All you take in is your slow progress over the hill, then into the trees. Before long, you see that the forest now surrounds you on all sides. A glittering trail of pearly, moonlit snow leads you through the pines, which tower over your head. Their branches are frosted with a layer of white. Everything looks different at night. The shadows are longer, and even the trees seem taller, stretching up towards the starry black sky. After a while of going gently downwards from the top of the hill, the path evens out. You find yourself in a place where the trees have more space between them. The forest seems open here, though it's not a clearing exactly. The trail itself is lost in the wide patches of white between the dark trunks. You pause for a moment to get your bearings. First, you rotate in a slow circle, taking in the scenery around you. But when you're facing the way you started once again, you notice something you hadn't seen before. Only a few steps away, there's now a wooden post, painted red, with a rectangular sign on top. It reads, Platform 1, in elegant gold script. How odd, you think? What could the sign be referring to? There's nothing here but you, the trees, and the snowy trail. You glance behind you, over your shoulder. Just as you suspected, there's nothing there. But when you turn back, the forest has changed once again. Now, cutting through the white snow, is a set of gleaming silver train tracks. They extend out to both sides, through the trees, beyond the reach of your vision. You're sure these tracks weren't here when you walked up the hill earlier. In fact, you're positive they weren't here just moments ago when you first reached this part of the trail. You close your eyes and rub your forehead gently. It's late. Maybe your imagination is just running wild, you think. But when you open your eyes, you see that the forest has been transformed. To your right is a wooden bench, painted the same red, with a sign that reads waiting area. Just beyond is a small, old-fashioned building, whose windows are glowing like those in the distant town. The word station is printed above the door in fanciful writing. Curious to explore further, you walk slowly over to the station. Instead of going inside, you cup your hands around your eyes and peer through the window. The glass is rimmed with frost, and your breath fogs it slightly. The warm glow is coming from old-fashioned lamps, which illuminate another waiting area indoors, along with a ticket counter which stands empty. There's not a single other person in sight. Before you have a chance to wonder about how this all came to be, you hear the low, faraway echo of a whistle. Soon it's accompanied by a deep rumbling sound moving through the trees. Whatever train uses these mysterious tracks must be getting nearer, you think to yourself. Moving away from the window, you glance up and down the tracks, but can't see a train yet. So, you walk back over to the bench to wait. You hear the clear, loud whistle blow twice. The rumbling grows louder as the train chugs closer to the station. Before long, you can see a bright, round light in the darkness. It's on the front of the locomotive, heading down the tracks in your direction. As the train barrels towards the station, it sends up a fan of snow on either side. A large plough on the front clears the path ahead of it. A kind of fog billows out around it, mixing with the snow as the train grinds to a halt in front of you. When it finally rolls to a stop, you can see that the frontmost part is adorned with a large festive bow. Like the station, the train seems to be of a different time. It's an old-fashioned steam locomotive with a round face and a smokestack. A friendly conductor in a navy suit with silver buttons steps down from one of the carriages. He looks both ways and, spotting you by the bench, waves you over. "Hop on," he says with a smile. You ask where the train is going tonight. To see the magic of winter, he says. You tell him it sounds wonderful, but then you realize that you don't have a ticket. Not to worry, he says, as he fishes a rectangular piece of paper out of his pocket and hands it to you. Looking down at it, you read the words printed in cramped black lettering. Ticket good for one-way or round trip, with luggage or without. Welcome aboard the winter train. His eyes twinkle as he watches you read. What a strange and wonderful thing to have happen, you think to yourself. For a moment, you consider giving him your thanks and then continuing on your way back home to bed. After all, it's not every day that you find a mysterious train in the woods and climb on board. As you're pondering this, a single fluffy snowflake lands on your coat. The first is followed by another and another. You glance up at the sky. It's as though you're standing in a snow globe, watching the flakes drifting down around you. Just like magic, you think. That thought makes your decision for you. This isn't the kind of opportunity to let pass you by. With a smile, you step up into the carriage. The conductor ushers you further inside and asks you to follow him to your very own compartment. This is a sleeper train, he explains, so you'll be able to sit up and watch the landscape go by for as long as you'd like, and then curl up into a cozy bed and fall asleep to the rocking motion of the train. You follow him past rows of comfortable-looking seats. Their midnight blue fabric with silver trim matches the curtains pulled back on either side of the large observation windows. Through the glass, the snowfall outside takes on a dreamy quality, as do the tall pines that line the tracks. The conductor leads you into another carriage. Instead of seats, this walkway is bordered by walls, with doors at regular intervals. These are the sleeping compartments, he explains. Yours is the last one on the left. He stops in front of your door and turns the handle to open it. Then he gestures for you to enter while he waits in the hall. You thank him for his help, and he smiles broadly. Wishing you a good journey, he leaves you to settle in. You take some time to look around your compartment. It's a compact space, but it feels very homely. There's a bed with a fluffy pillow and a warm, fuzzy blanket. Beside it is a seat with a perfect view out the window. There's a little table with a silver tray on top, holding small pots of tea and cocoa, along with a plate of biscuits, both chocolate dipped and plain. You pick up a biscuit and nibble at the corner. It's buttery and crumbles in your mouth. Setting the rest of it down on the plate, you pour yourself a cup of your hot drink of choice. You inhale deeply, enjoying the warm, familiar fragrance. And then you settle into the seat so you can look out at the wintry landscape. As soon as you're comfortable, you hear the train's whistle blow twice. Then you feel a light rumbling beneath you as it begins to roll down the tracks. As it picks up speed, you relax into its rhythmic rocking back and forth as it chugs along through the forest. You lean your shoulder against the glass and gaze out the window passively. At first, the landscape looks much like the one you were walking through not long ago. Pine trees obscure the view of the sky, except for starry patches that peek through the branches. Every once in a while, you catch a glimpse of the moon. It's so bright, you almost feel like you must be in a dream. It's as though you've never seen the forest and the sky look so perfect, so alive. The tracks seem to cut their own path through the trees, following a mostly straight course. But then, you notice some mountains in the distance. Their rocky peaks are covered in a thick layer of snow, which softens their edges and angles. You watch them grow larger as the train moves closer. Before you know it, the tracks are curving around the base of the first mountain. The steep slope fills the window entirely, becoming a blur of moonlit white and grey. You feel your eyelids growing heavy with the effort of tracking the view you're speeding past. For a moment, you let them drift closed, leaning your head against the cold glass. You rock back and forth in the comfortable seat, your body giving into the motion easily. All thoughts evaporate from your mind as the train's movement lulls you into a sense of peace and contentment. You can feel your awareness drifting too, into the familiar darkness behind your eyelids. When you open your eyes sometime later, you see that the train has left the mountains behind and is now travelling through a different forest. This one is unfamiliar to you. The trees are much larger than the pines you walked through earlier, their trunks gnarled with age. This looks like an enchanted forest to you, with its dusting of white snow. Just then, you see something moving between the trees. You press your face against the glass, trying to get a clearer view. Soon, you can make out that it's a silver sleigh with gold bells hanging from every corner. You imagine that you can almost hear the ethereal jingling through the window. The sleigh is being pulled by 4 beautiful white horses. Their hooves kick up a spray of powder with every step. Riding in the sleigh are 2 women with long dresses, the colour of snow. They sparkle in the moonlight, as do the crowns on their heads, which look as though they're made of icicles. The one on the left is wearing a small circlet, while the one on the right has a crown with tall spires of ice interlaced with gold. The mysterious women ride parallel to the train for a while, but soon the locomotive outpaces the sleigh. You glance back to see the horses trotting over an embankment of snow. Who could they be, you wonder? They looked like royalty and seemed perfectly at home in the enchanted winter forest. As you're pondering their identity, the train rocks gently and pulls to the left. As the tracks curve in that direction, you're afforded a view into new parts of the forest. The first thing that catches your eye is a circle of tall, evergreen trees in the distance. They seem to be twinkling in every colour of the rainbow. As the train moves closer to them, you see that each of the trees is magnificently decorated. One is covered from top to bottom in gingerbread ornaments. There are small biscuit people painted with icing sugar and suspended from ribbons, along with houses, flowers, trees, and more. You can almost smell the spicy aroma of ginger and molasses wafting through the glass. The next tree is simply strung with cranberries, pine cones, and cut paper snowflakes. You appreciate its simplicity and attention to detail. A third and fourth tree are colour coordinated. One is blue and the other green. All of the ornaments and decorations they carry match their own respective colour. And the largest tree of them all is hung with tinsel and fairy lights, some white or gold, and others in every colour imaginable. It stands taller than all the rest, casting its warm and welcoming glow on the trees beside it. Even beneath its trunk, the snow sparkles like a gemstone as the light bounces off of it. It's a truly enchanting scene. You wonder who decorated this group of trees, and if they ever pass by, just as you're doing, to admire their work. When the train turns again, You watch the decorated trees fade away behind you and think of nights spent putting up ornaments, turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. The train rocks gently back and forth as you settle even more deeply into the seat. Around another bend, something else in the forest catches your eye. It's a family of reindeer happily standing together by a glistening stream, lapping up a drink of cold water. From this perspective, you can see that each of them is covered in a light sprinkling of powdery snow, as though they've been walking around in it for a while. Their muzzles are especially dusted with white. It makes you smile to think of them nuzzling the snow and each other. As the reindeer disappear in the blur of magical forest behind you, you notice again how heavy your eyelids are feeling. It's been a long day, full of adventures and seeing new things. And now, you'd like nothing better than to lie down in the comfy bed, stretch out your arms and legs, and settle into the soft, fluffy pillow. So you take one final sip of your hot drink, savouring its rich aroma and the feeling of it on your tongue. Then you change into your pajamas and crawl into bed, nestling down beneath the covers. From your bed, you have the perfect view out the window. You watch the trees and mountains fly past, and even make out the individual snowflakes that are beginning to fall outside the train. Soon, you allow your eyes to fall shut and let your mind clear of the thoughts of the day. You settle into the soothing rocking of the train, back and forth, as it lulls you nearer to sleep. Your mind is filled with the rhythmic sound of the train moving down the tracks. Tonight, you'll dream of white sleighs, twinkling trees, and reindeer by a stream. You'll dream of the magic of winter and of all that means to you on this perfectly enchanted night.